The breakroom always seemed cold, not just from Paris' overzealous air conditioning, but the way laughter bounced off the white tile and carried the edge of practiced scorn. I clung to a paper cup of bitter coffee as my boss, Monsieur Duval, banged open the glass door. It's that, what's the phrase, the little pipe dream again. His suit was always blue with sharp silver stripes, his grey eyes gliding over us as if we were paperwork to be stamped and filed away. He fixed me with a smile meant only for mocking. Paul, when you're done revolutionizing the universe, maybe join the real meeting. The others laughed. Even Lucy, who sometimes slipped me her grandmother's banana bread, let out a nervous giggle, the kind that prays not to be noticed. I held my ground, burning but upright. The simulation results are promising, sir. The system is learning, not just optimizing, it's really adapting. Duval cut me off, palm rising as if to hush a persistent child. We've heard Paul's stories, his unsupervised AI. Why not focus on our targets, something useful? He motioned everyone forward. Paul, get more sleep, less dreaming. I didn't stay for the rest. Their laughter buzzed in my ears as I left, trailing me through the steel corridor back to my cubicle. My desk, scattered with notebooks and haphazard printouts, mapped neural nets and code flows, work that begged for solitude. I sat breathing slow, trying not to show I was trembling, even as shame burned on my cheeks. I was 27, entirely alone in Paris, apart from my family, my mother, my uncle, cousins. No one understood what I was doing or why it mattered. To them and to Duval, my ideas belonged to science fiction and nervous jokes about rogue machines. I wanted to build something unseen, an AI that evolved, perceiving and inventing its own logic, a kind of living code. Most days my models stumbled under failures, slack code, persistent bugs, but each try carried a charge of possibility. But after that day, possibility felt distant, buried under laughter and dismissals. I nearly crumpled my notes. Instead, out of pain and pride, I stayed late, huddled over blinking lines of code as dusk stained the office purple and gold. Night fell, casting city-light shadows across my desk. I coded and erased and recoded, fighting tears. Duval's insult echoed, mixed with my own desperate anger. I could not quit. At dawn, my simulation ran a little longer, thought a little deeper than it had before. Just a sliver, not enough to show, not yet, hash. Even at family dinners, I couldn't escape the sting. My mother's apartment always buzzed, cousins jostled, stories tumbled, but there was always a question about jobs or salaries or sensible futures. Uncle Mark, booming and rosy, would rumble, Paul is the scientist, he'll build a robot that bakes baguettes. Laughter rolled around the table. My mother tried to defend. It's complicated work, but her words hesitated as if she too doubted. Camille, who worked in social media marketing, leaned across, wine glass in hand. Why do we need thinking computers? Why not join my agency? All you need is a laptop and some TikTok ideas. That was their love, wrapped in confusion and gentle jokes. When I tried to explain, painting pictures of machines that could learn, solve problems, adapt as our brains do, their gazes drifted away. My work was out there on a distant, shining moon. Their comfort sometimes unsettled me, how easily they belonged. For me, every day felt like a question I was always halfway to answering. Work only got worse. Duval assigned me trivial testing, ideas dismissed at every meeting. Budgets went to safe, simple projects, ad engines, logistics, voice helpers. My simulation ran quietly at night, growing smarter, but nobody cared. I stopped mentioning it. My rebellion became silent, all code, no talk. Each day I sat through the daydreamer jokes, fists tight, eyes burning. One evening, rain rattling the city, I met Lucy for drinks. We walked beneath yellow umbrellas, weaving through streets alive with rain and neon. She looked at me, her scarf tucked under her chin. Why keep going, Paul, with all this? I stopped, rain pulsing at my brow, staring into the jittering pools of light at our feet. Because it's what I love, because I can see it here, I pressed my chest. I'll build something real, something that matters. She squeezed my arm. Then you're braver than any of them. Screw their laughter. But even kind words couldn't fix how hollow I felt at work. More than once I thought of quitting. Paris had no patience for daydreamers. The breakthrough was almost dull in its calmness. A frozen Thursday, Paris crusted with frost, air crackling. I fed real data to my neural model, listening to its quiet churn, retuning, setting the problem free. At midnight, my monitor glowed. My AI, Aurelia, in my code, had solved a test I'd never programmed for, tracing a power grid's hidden failure, fixing it, rebalancing the system alone. This wasn't rote calculation, she'd learned. Her solution was elegant, unexpected, better than my own. For a week I barely slept, feeding Aurelia harder tests, language puzzles, robotics, new datasets. She solved them, built on them, speculated. I said nothing, afraid it would break if others looked too closely. Finally, I sent my results to Duval. His response, "Come to my office, bring your demo." His office hovered above the city, blue-lit and wide. I set up, palms sweating. Duval came in, trailed by two seniors and Auto's director, MME Renault. I showed them Aurelia learning, adapting, proposing fixes unprompted. Renault leaned in, her knuckles pale. Duval's eyes clung to the screen, hungry but cautious. "How much is pre-coded?" he demanded. "None," I said. "Just the world and the rules, the rest is emergent." Renault asked for another task. I shifted tests. Aurelia wrote primitive poems, solved riddles, built better weather models. Their faces shifted, skepticism melted to stunned calculation. Duval just stared, mouth compressed. When I finished, Renault nodded. Duval muttered, "You made it work." That was the change. Suddenly they wanted meetings, legal filings, strategy. I held on to my code tightly. I walked home at dawn, wanting to sob and laugh all at once. All my nights of pain and doggedness had led here. I messaged my mother, "Mammon, good news, call me." Recognition came slow and then sudden. Renault's statement named me in the press. The most advanced self-learning AI, journals wanted interviews, investors circled. For the first time, Duval showed a kind of brittle respect, never warm but carefully measured. My family's confusion became pride. Aunt Genevieve called, uncertain. "Your mother says you built something for the government. You're in papers." I tried to explain, but it didn't matter. My strangeness was now their currency. At Auto, my model grew into our flagship. I led a new team, my work set the pace. But even in success, the memory of humiliation dragged behind me, a heavy truth, a quiet reminder to keep vigilant. Aurelia found uses I never pictured. Predicting rare diagnoses, improving city infrastructure, readings that saved lives. The Paris Ministry of Health partnered with us. Renault called it revolutionary. I stood under bright lights, answering why I'd kept going. How I was sure something beautiful could grow from code and faith. Sometimes I saw the look in a young student's eyes, the rawness of being misunderstood and not quitting. Letters arrived at home, people asking me to speak. My mother brought her phone to family gatherings, showing videos, proud now and undaunted. Uncle Mark, still never quite getting it right, explained with new or what I'd made. Still, I wondered if I deserved any of this. My dignity had always lived between others' laughter and my own stubbornness. The real proof, the real return came a year after that humiliating day. Renault called me into her glass-walled office. "We're launching a pilot," she said. "Citywide energy networks, hospital partners, support lines. Auto will host the event here. Invite your family." I nodded, heart pounding. I sent invitations to everyone, my mother, my cousins, Uncle Mark. My hands trembled the whole time. The morning arrived, pale and gold, Paris gleaming under a fresh sun. Banners read, "Aurelia, a new era for AI." My face, enlarged above the doors, startled me. Inside, I waited behind the stage, heart racing. My family arrived and sat in the front, my cousins in their best clothes, Uncle Mark with a new tie, my mother, glowing and nervous, whispered, "GT aim." Lucy was somewhere in the crowd, her eyes finding mine. Renault introduced me on stage. "Here's Paul Laurent, creator of Aurelia, the most advanced AI." I took the podium, hands clammy, voice barely steady. The demo began. Aurelia managing a simulated power crisis, calmly tracing the fault and restoring the network. Next, she scanned anonymized healthcare data, predicting diseases that human doctors missed. Engineers and physicians in the crowd confirmed each result, murmured approval. The last test was softer, a recorded, gentle conversation between Aurelia and an elderly woman, calmly helping her through a doctor's visit, explaining, translating jargon, calling her son, signaling when she missed a prescription. The woman's quiet thanks, "Merci, Aurelia, never seen anything like this." At the end, I looked to the front row. Uncle Mark leaned forward, stunned. Camille forgot her phone. My mother clapped, face wet with tears. Questions followed, a dozen hands lifted, the applause building and building. I stood there, trembling, watching a room full of former skeptics turn silent, then rise in admiration, not because I argued my case, but because I showed them the living proof. After my family rushed up, Mark gripped me in a hug, choking back emotion. "I didn't understand, Paul, now I do, I'm proud of you." Camille hugged me. "Your story went viral at work. You're a star." My mother, joyful, held my face. All those nights I worried, now you've found your place. They wanted photos with me, my colleagues embraced me. Lucy pressed a tiny blue note into my hand, a heart drawn in ink. Outside, Paris glowed, city and river alight and alive. That ache lingered, how rejection scars you, how dignity is won back through struggle. But gazing at my family's joy, I felt for the first time that I had truly come home, to the city, my work and myself. I walked out with my mother's hand in mine, my family swirling around us, telling them things I'd never dared, how every joke and taunt forged me didn't break me. Beneath the city's banners, I felt that the old story of humiliation had become something whole, not erased but transformed by the journey home.